Oftentimes, the second album produced by a musician or band fails to live up to the legacy established by the first. The so called sophomore album curse is a well documented phenomenon. Nirvana managed to buck this trend with Nevermind, their 1991 album. The album opens with what is undoubtedly the group's most popular song. The opening track and lead single is ranked number 9 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time list, and it is listed on the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's Songs That Shaped Rock and Roll. The piece was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2017, and it won 2 MTV Music Awards. It won 2 MTV Video Music Awards. The accolades for this song are endless from almost everyone, save for members of the band. When Cobain introduced the track to his band, bassist Chris Novoselic dismissed the basic riff as, quote, ridiculous. Cobain himself spoke poorly of the riff in interviews as well. It was such a cliched riff. It was so close to a Boston riff or the Kingsman Louie Louie. He also said, I was trying to write the ultimate pop song. I was basically trying to rip off the Pixies. I have to admit it. When I heard the Pixies for the first time, I connected with that band so heavily that I should have been in that band, or at least a Pixies cover band. We used their sense of dynamics, being soft and quiet, and then loud and hard. Despite the band's criticisms, the heavy, distorted riff, combined with the bizarre title and confusing lyrics, drew in more fans than anticipated and essentially brought grunge into the mainstream. This legendary song title comes from a message that was scrawled onto Cobain's apartment wall by his friend Kathleen Hanna, the lead singer of Bikini Kill. That's right. From Kurt Cobain's apartment wall to radio stations all over the world for the past 28 years, we're talking Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit on Cover Me. That's right. It's Cover Me, the only podcast that talks about famous songs and their many cover versions, compares them against one another to find out which one is my libido. I'm your host, as always, Jake Cressy, joined by my entertaining co-host,
Alex Mildenberger.
Entertain us, Alex.
I didn't invite you here.
I suppose not. I suppose I invited you. My responsibility. Alex. Nirvana. The year was 1991.
1991.
We were both
I was
-2 years.
not born yet. And, I was chilling to some listening to punk rock. That's what I was doing in 91. In the, I was just a free soul. Just drifting around and open space.
There was a place before we were born,
Yeah.
Someone asks, that's where I was.
Oh, that's a reference to an earlier episode. Check out our This Must Be the Place Naive Melody episode for more of that.
More of that content. So, Alex, neither one of us, I think, is a big Nirvana fan.
No, I wouldn't say I'm against Nirvana. I just have never taken the time to listen to them, which is weird. It's one of those that they're too popular. That I'm obviously Nirvana. Yeah, I just take them for granted and then ignore them. But I'm sure they have good, this is a good song. They must have other good music. I've just never gotten around to it. And my time spent in 90s music is not that much. I did some Soundgarden back in the day. And it's good. I like it. I like Soundgarden. But I don't know. It's a lot of effort sometimes to listen to new music, so...
Yeah, especially going back. I gotta go back to the 90s. You're like, ugh.
The 90s? I was alive in the 90s.
Yeah.
But I would hardly claim to know what happened.
Oh, yeah.
Realistically. My earliest actual memory is probably 9/11.
I don't even remember 9/11.
My sister says we got McDonald's, but I don't remember that part. I just remember my parents waking me up being hey, an airplane...
family or we the nation?
What? Oh yeah, my family. My sisters said that my mom brought us McDonald's at school, so we were pretty psyched for that, or at least she was.
Nice.
I probably was too.
Your mom knows how to handle a fucking crisis.
Yeah. See, if everyone just got McDonald's on that day, a lot of war probably could have been avoided. That's what I think.
Probably.
Anyway, so this is a 9/11 podcast, conspiracy theory podcast, about how Kurt Cobain did 9/11.
100%.
So tell me,
that's why he killed himself.
Kurt Cobain do 9/11?
With the amulet that made him famous? Is that the...
That's the one. All right.
That's the one.
So, we don't need to talk about that anymore.
No,
So,
we don't.
my connection with this song is pretty tenuous. I vaguely recall, like, it's the melody, I think. Like, I remember in elementary school someone said, like, hearing someone sing that, and I didn't know what it was, but it kind of stuck with me to a degree, and I do think the melody is very strong in this song.
Yeah,
And I think that's a big part of its legacy.
Yeah, it's because it's simple and like it hits hard. And the thing that I always hear about Kurt Cobain is that he was not a good guitar player, but he
Right.
was like he had a profoundly strong grasp of distortion and like how to use it. And I think you can really hear that in this song, how he sort of dials it in differently at different points, and it kind of brings out different elements.
Right. And I mean, there's a lot of information on exactly, like, they were requesting like a particular producer for the song, and like it took them a while to actually get who they wanted because they were working with a label, but they didn't want to because,
Right.
or they were kind of worried about that because they didn't want to sell out.
Yeah,
And
and
like,
it's so wild, just the level of facts that are written about this song, given
yeah,
how
this is.
generally like musically simple it is. It's like granular the amount of information you can get about this.
I mean, it's kind of this sort of song that people like. I think it's the highest ranked song we've done yet, like on the,
Yeah,
at
it
least on the
100%
Rolling
is.
Stones greatest songs of
List.
all time, or
Yeah.
whatever. Greatest rock and roll songs of all time. So for that reason, like it's more analyzed from a scholarly perspective.
Plus, given that it was like the 90s were starting to get more like information laid down, like where it's like we're getting close to the real mainstream internet and shit, like it was
Right,
easier
right.
to get information and record it.
True. That's true. Yeah, a lot of things were happening. Um so it's definitely, yeah, early kind of that, and I'm sure there's a lot more information that we don't know because there's tons of stuff out there on this,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's the song or like the music video, which itself, I I didn't really watch it, but I remember because I used to watch like MTV a lot, and they would talk about music videos, but I would never watch the music videos hardly.
Yeah, and
And
well,
like this
that's
came up.
yeah, there's a quote from one of the production heads, I believe, from MTV, and they said that like this song essentially was responsible for giving MTV a whole new generation to sell to.
Because it just drew so many young people in.
Yeah.
And I guess at this point, it had been around for like a decade. And if you remember the Black Hole Sun music video, I have a feeling
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of the artists in that early 90s grunge thing that Nirvana was a part of,
Yeah.
maybe wouldn't have been super stoked about that kind, like,
Well, yeah, this song
about doing
it's
a music video like as a marketing thing.
yeah. There's
I
so
don't
many
know.
pieces of this song that are like, and it's almost like emblematic of like Generation X, but it's like it's really pitted against itself in so many ways. Like you said, when they were looking for this producer, they're trying not to be mainstream. Like this song wasn't even initially supposed to be a sort of crossover to radio hit, but it fucking blew up.
Right.
And like some of the elements of the song, even hearing the like particularly Kurt Cobain talk about it, like it's very clear he's got mixed feelings about it. Like it's in so many ways encapsulates this weird idea of teen spirit, which both like tries to rebel and tries to be great, but is both like caught up in both the corporate world and like mediocrity.
Right. Like you don't really have a choice. You kind of have to go with the system to a degree, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't want to, but like kind of begrudgingly follows along.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird song, and
I guess it's like really of its time, which is kind of how you make these kinds of massive hits and successes.
yeah, and I think I read a quote that was like, "Oh, it's been called like the anthem of that generation," and then another thing that was like Cobain didn't want it to be the anthem of a
A generation.
generation. Like this song hates itself. by way of its creator, I think. And there's nothing more that smells more like Teenage Spirit than that sort of self-loathing, even in the height of greatness.
Yeah, and like particularly that kind of attitude in like the early 90s matching up with that kind of grunge concept. That makes sense to me based on what I understand of it, which I'll
Yeah,
admit is maybe not everything,
but it does feel like the apotheosis of like grunge and teenagerdom.
right. Of like being popular but not wanting it, but needing
But
it
also,
really.
yeah, but needing it because you want to be accepted. But it's
And also like successful. Like they want to be a band, so they have to have some level of success, but suddenly if they achieve it, it's like, oh, fuck that. We don't want this.
Mhm. And then looking back on your own song and be like, well, it's a ripoff of these things. Like I was just,
Yeah, which is
the riff
every
stolen
song.
from
Don't worry,
Boston.
don't worry about it, guys.
Yeah, it's fascinating. With that, let's just jump into these lyrics because
Yeah.
they're gonna be a fucking shit show to
Yeah,
tear
it's tough.
apart.
You probably read the quote. There's a quote from Kurt Cobain about like these lyrical analyses.
Yeah.
He said, "Why in the hell did journalists insist on coming up with a second-rate Freudian evaluation of my lyrics when 90% of the time they've transcribed them incorrectly?" And they're
And
a
that is
big
one of the interesting things is
Yeah.
that there was no complete set of lyrics in the liner notes for the album. So, like, the degree to which we've all sort of agreed on what the lyrics are is still a bit tenuous, I think.
So we don't actually know what all the correct lyrics are necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Unless Dave Grohl's come out and been like, oh, it's this.
What's this, guys? Didn't you know? Yeah, well, maybe. But maybe he didn't know
Maybe.
either, because, like, he didn't write the lyrics specifically.
Yeah, I think to sort of give him the same treatment, to again go back to Talking Heads for some reason, where this must be the place. Naive Melody is a series of non sequitur like emotional lines
Right.
where centered around love. Like this seems to bear some element of that, but about it's just kind of dirty. It just kind of gives a dirty feeling to me.
Yeah, it definitely has a different feeling. So, yeah, I don't know about that, but I guess we'll go through we'll talk about it. I mean, he says, like, oh, well, they don't really mean anything. Did I say the second thing? Big pile of contradictions? No.
No.
That's his other part of the quote. He said his own lyrics are a big pile of contradictions. They're split down the middle between very sincere opinions that I have and sarcastic opinions and feelings that I have and sarcastic and hopeful humorous rebuttals towards cliche bohemian ideals that have been exhausted for years.
Yeah, that's very like.
So
this...
he's like, there's no like separation between like the parts of his lyrics. I just say a bunch of stuff that like I'm feeling at the time, and it's not necessarily coherent.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if you kind of take it line by line, I think you can sort of at least get an idea of what his thoughts are. But it's very stream of consciousness, so it's hard to take anything at face value.
100%. So let's jump into verse 1. Load up on guns, bring your friends. It's fun to lose and to pretend.
Yep, guns. Supposedly he occasionally changed that first line to load up on drugs, kill your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that means something. Maybe he's just fucking around. What does that mean?
I don't know. For me, this like, and I'm viewing it through this like '90s like anti-corporate lens, maybe, but
right.
like this, at least this counterculture lens, where it's like load up on guns, bring your friends. It seems very American to me. If America's about two things, it's having a bunch of guns and having a bunch of people with guns.
Sure, yeah. I mean, load up on guns, and like, if it is this anti-corporate thing, could be like kind of revolution sort of thing. But also like, it's fun. Like, it's not gonna happen because we're just like it's pretending. It's a pipe dream.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think there was much of that positivity of like we'll win against this corporate entity in the 90s. It was just like be defiant and do that.
Yeah, that's sort of like a less driven Fight Club kind of motto.
I mean, that's what Fight Club grew out of, so
right.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's fun to lose to pretend. He brings up this idea that comes up in the second verse of attributing a positive value to negative things. It's fun to lose. And the
Right.
next one, he talks about how he's been given this gift of being worse at things he's good at.
Right. And we'll get to that.
We'll get to that. But yeah, just that idea comes up here. And to pretend, it could be that you're pretending to have friends. It could be that that you're pretending to make a difference. And
Right.
it could be yeah.
And also, he talks about being sarcastic a lot, so he could literally just mean the opposite. It's not fun to lose.
Yeah, or to pretend.
You know?
You want to win and have the real thing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right. You want to live in reality and you want to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows?
So,
maybe he doesn't want to be successful.
Yeah, it's hard to know what he wants. So in the next two lines, it's she's overboard, spelt B-O-R-E-D, according to Genius, and self-assured.
Yeah.
Oh no, I know a dirty word.
Supposedly this is about an actual person that he
his new girlfriend, according to a biography.
And so, I mean, that would be very specific to that relationship, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So I wonder if the line I could see overboard again, this 90s thing where everybody's just like disinterested, sort of checked out.
Right.
She's
a state of boredom is like desirable. Like you want to look bored because nothing excites you because you're like jaded or whatever. But it's kind of just an image thing.
But, and particularly with keeping the pre-chorus in mind, there seems to be this like kind of playing with sounds and the idea that there are no notes, so you can't know what he actually says. So there's also this idea of she's overboard, like, of a ship, and self-assured, this sort of bad situation, but she seems to be quite confident.
Right, she's fallen in, but she doesn't seem to care.
Yeah.
Maybe she's in over her head. Maybe he's worried about somebody.
And then with the oh no, I know a dirty word, which seemed like the only way I can think of this is in reference to her. It kind of brings up this juvenile like idea of sex. Like he's looking at this girl and he's like, there's this girl. This is what she's like. Oh no, I know a dirty word. Like it's because the only people who are in panic about knowing dirty words are kids, right?
I guess, but it also sounds kind of sarcastic to me. Of like, someone is worried about it and he's like, oh, this is so terrible. A bad word. I said it. Wow.
Oh no.
Just like,
But he didn't say a bad word.
Yeah, but it almost sounds like it's, I don't know. Or maybe suggesting that like being self-assured is like considered a dirty word. Hey, that rhymed.
Maybe particularly in regards to women. Is this some feminist lit?
Maybe it's like, oh, now someone being self-assured, ooh, that's a dirty word because like they're supposed to not be for whatever reason. But like, I feel like there's so much specific cultural context that I don't have here. Like,
yeah,
it's
very possible.
This
like you said, he talks in contradictions, and he just talks in how he's feeling. Like it's very stream of consciousness.
Yeah.
But yeah, it gives the first verse to me just feels like pure grunge. I could say that about any part of the song, but it has that sort of dirty feel. So then we move into the pre-chorus where he says, "Hello, hello, hello, how low?" Or perhaps hollow.
Hollow, yes, kind of sounds like that too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, depression was a big part of his life, I assume.
Oh, yeah.
So talking about like feeling low would make sense in that context.
Mm-hmm. And sort of like a how low can you go on a personal level? Again, taking in that sort of like counterculture, like how low can we go as a society?
How low?
And the if it's hollow, again, that's a depression kind of feeling hollow. And in terms of like what the chorus brings to light, this idea of demanding entertainment, you can kind of see in that pre-chorus he feels the demands of the audience on him, maybe.
Right, so everyone's saying hello to him and like I don't know, trying to drag him down to their level. That's just some random bullshit.
Yeah, just kind of like it brings him down. Like all of these faces being like, hello, 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 and he's just in his head. He's like, how low? Like,
how low
he doesn't
indeed.
have the fucking energy.
Or that like it's hollow feeling. Like with the hollow, we talked about Neil Peart several episodes ago, and like
That's
how he
right.
wasn't really into interact, like he couldn't pretend to be this pop star that is like talking to everybody and super personable. So I imagine that there's some because like it didn't feel like a personal connection sort of thing. So there's like a hollowness to the relationship between the artist and the audience.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a deal.
Yeah, and again, but there's like so little for us to go on here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all very
Um,
vague and probably unspecific.
yeah, so we go to the chorus. With the lights out, it's less dangerous. Here we are now. Entertain us.
Yeah, so this is kind of like an opposite thing because like with the lights out, usually with the lights out, it's more dangerous. But for some
Yeah.
reason, he's either sarcastically saying it's less dangerous or
Mm-hmm.
suggesting that when the lights, which are probably metaphor, are out, it has become less dangerous because he feels more comfortable or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, with the lights, and now you got me thinking limelight. When the limelight's out, he's not. Nobody
That
sees
too.
him. It's
So
less
then
dangerous.
he's less dangerous because people can't find him.
Yeah,
How about that? Making
but
connections.
then comes the demand. Here we are now. Entertain us. Which I always thought until we listened to it this week. I always thought he said, "Here we are now, entertainers."
Yeah, I never really knew. And like I mentioned, this was the first line of this song I ever heard because I heard someone singing it. I have this vague memory of someone in elementary school way back singing this line and just being like, "What's that from? What is that?"
Mm-hmm.
Like just being kind of fascinated by it. And like but then sort of forgetting about it and and then eventually like learning this song existed and kind of making that connection, but still not really understanding it. But it's kind of an interesting line, and supposedly it comes from something the band or at least Kurt would do.
Yeah, I would
Is
say
like
at parties.
they'd go to parties and be like, "All right, are we just gonna sit here? Like this is your party, entertain us." Like,
Yeah.
but I guess as entertainers, you're maybe more likely to expect other people to be able to entertain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And then yeah, I just like I'm thinking of it in terms of like going to a concert. You know, all these fucking people show up, and they're just like, "Well, we're here. Fucking play music."
Let's go. Let's do it.
And
You can
then
do
we
it.
go to the next lines. I feel stupid and contagious. Here we are now. Entertain us.
Here we are now.
There's that view of the masses that's very popular in the '90s, which I feel like this evokes. You know, wake up, sheeple. Like,
Right. Well, supposedly that was the original name of the album. Was Sheep.
sheep. Oh, well, that checks right the fuck out then, doesn't it?
Yeah. Although this song I think was written much later. I don't know if the album had been the album name had been decided by then.
Yeah, I wonder. Because this song does have the line that is the album title, and it was the lead single, so it would have come out in advance of the album.
Yeah. So, although supposedly it was recorded late in the process, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, something else to chew on.
But stupid and contagious. There's this idea that people always have that all like the stupidity is spreading. All these stupid people running about. There's so much more of them now.
Right,
It's
it
just
spreads.
it's like yeah, I guess. It's also we're just more able to identify stupid
Yeah.
people these days.
And he feels like he's maybe part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's causing these people, like because they're kind of following him, and he's like, now I am leading a group of
Right.
people, and they're following me, and like, what responsibility? Like I feel like I'm doing this, like something's wrong. Doesn't necessarily like take responsibility, or say that he needs to take responsibility or something like that, but he does say like something seems to be happening.
Okay, now I'm finally understanding this genius quote where they say this relates to his feelings about his daughter.
Right.
Yeah, so he feels stupid and contagious because in this quote of his, he's worried about his. He describes himself as a miserable, self-destructive death rocker, and he doesn't want his daughter to become that.
Right. Because
So he feels stupid and contagious. He's worried that his mindset will spread.
which I mean, it was the '90s. Everyone kind of was like that.
Yeah.
We got
And it-
over it.
Yeah, I kind of got over it, but nonetheless, even with him telling these people straight up shouting it, I feel stupid, contagious. They, in response, just say, "Here we are now, entertain us."
Right. Right. And he's like, "What are my responsibilities in this situation?" And they're like, "We have fun."
Yeah,
Play song.
make us have fun.
Based on how it's presented in this song.
Yeah, so we're gonna come to the next line here. Just a quick heads up. We're about to use an outdated term.
Yes,
for,
I honestly
people of mixed race.
I don't know if it's offensive specifically. I know it's outdated.
It's not like hard offensive, but
Yeah.
like you would not use it in polite conversation.
No. It's just...
yeah, so the term is mulatto. We're gonna say it this once. It's mixed race, European and African, white and black. We'll try to avoid that for the rest of it, just to keep it clean. But yeah, so that's the opening line. That, an albino, a mosquito, my libido.
Which, I don't know, this, like, just listening to it just sounds like a bunch of words that rhymed, but then the first two kind of seem related because they're like related to skin color.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I wouldn't call them necessarily like, it's not like you're saying like super dark, super light. Like, it's not like it's opposites or anything like that.
No, I kind of viewed it, and it's weird that he chooses to use skin color, I guess, but like outcasts,
right?
And I think both crowds may have been, viewed as freaks, which were often freak shows. We
Right,
made
in
people
their
who
day,
were different
sort of
entertain us, right?
Well, to a degree.
To a degree,
In a lot of time periods.
Yeah. But
yes.
Then we get a mosquito and my libido.
Which sounds more like just rhyming words. Now, I would not have picked up on this. But this is just taken from the Genius annotation. Apparently, these are all names for cocktails.
Yeah, apparently.
So, whatever that means here. Just like, entertain us, we're drinking and having sex, I guess. I'm assuming.
Right. So
it's just part of the, like, what is it? The working class hero? John Lennon? They blind you with sex and drugs and TV or something like that.
Right. So
Kinda
yeah,
lame.
that makes sense. And you think about concerts, and is like a lot of people they go get drunk and they get horny.
Go get drunk, get sweaty.
Yeah, drunk, sweaty, and horny, and then you're not even there really for the music. You're there for the end result, right?
Right.
It's like a means to an end.
Yeah, the music is kind of secondary to just like the atmosphere and the whatever comes next.
So yeah, that could be it. Otherwise I really don't know how to do this unless he's saying that. Cause the only thing I could think of between mosquito and libido is that mosquito, draws the blood out of you, and you need a blood to pop a boner, my man.
you need that dick blood.
You gotta get that dick blood. So is a mosquito my libido saying like this is sucking the go juice out of me?
My go juice is gone.
You got no fucking go juice.
Sorry, man. I'm out of go juice. Maybe. I mean, it's all like pretty big leaps in logic, I think. Because it might literally just be a bunch of words that rhyme and sound vaguely evocative. Like even
could be.
Even in the 90s, it probably wasn't super normal to say mulatto.
No, fucking definitely.
But
was
I
not.
honestly don't know. The only time I've ever heard it used is like one episode of Archer.
Yeah.
And I think he might have even been talking about a drink. I don't recall.
No, I'm pretty sure they used it to talk to Lana because he's trying to figure out what, old-timey racist term basically to call her.
Okay. All right. Anyway. So yeah, it does sound, it is like probably then like intentionally, what's the word I'm looking for? Provocative.
Gets the people going.
Because like albino and mosquito, whatever. Like your first and last one, you're like, oh, what? He just said libido in a song in the 90s?
Yeah, was that still like?
Was that still
like
probably
oh
less?
My.
Maybe not. I just always assumed the past was like fanning themselves over everything.
Yeah, anything.
Like, oh, goodness me.
Before 2000, it's just fucking Victorian era.
Yeah, even though I was alive for some of it.
I know, right?
Yeah, I remember having my fan and being like, "Whoa, that man said shit. Whoa,
Oh Lord,
goodness me.
that's kind of
Somebody get the smelling salts. Oh, I'm feeling faint."
That's kind of how I was as a kid, though. I was like, "Oh my God, they swore." I'm like,
I mean, that was me for a long time, but my
You're,
family
like,
was
running
pretty
around
hardline
trying to,
against
like,
swearing.
trying to find the non-emergency number for the
Like
police.
someone wrote, I remember someone like graffitied my elementary school, and someone was like, they wrote the B word, and I was like, "What's the B word?" Sounds bad. I honestly don't remember what it was because there's technically two.
Two.
It was probably bitch.
I feel like bitch.
Let's face it.
This isn't the 1600s.
No one really cares that much about the
wall.
word bastard.
No.
The only times we use bastard are in anime dubs.
That's right.
I
Shout out to anime
and
dubs.
like Game of Thrones. But that's like, I mean, kind of derogatory in that, but also like sometimes just very literal of like, yeah, they're bastard. That's what they are.
Yeah.
That's the word we have that describes that. Anyway. Moving
Anyway,
on.
when I read that chorus, it draws to mind really what the music video presents. This sort of dirty, grungy concert in a school hall.
Right. The like kind
It's
of like
in a
quasi
gym.
pep rally thing.
Yeah. So here's the most important lines coming up here in the post-chorus. He says, "Yeah, hey, yay." What's going on there?
Well, if you recall, from the final Queen album, Made in Heaven, which was actually released shortly before this, shockingly shortly, in the 90s. There's one track that is only a couple seconds long, and it just says, "Yeah." Think about that.
So he's talking about the joy of the return of Freddie Mercury, even for a moment.
Even for a moment.
So yeah refers to the moment he's talking about, and hey is being like, oh, that's Freddie Mercury, and then yay. That's in we like Freddie Mercury. You know what?
Yeah, this is a positive thing.
This is a positive thing, an expression of joy. Yeah, I buy it.
Yep.
Come to verse 2. I'm worse at what I do best, and for this gift I feel blessed. Now, Alex, is worse in reference to like his skills at what he is doing best are deteriorating, or that in comparison to others he is worse?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I took part of this from the Genius notation because I thought it was kind of neat. One possible approach. The concept of like as you get better at something, you become more educated about it. You realize how much more you don't know, and you start to learn kind of more
Right.
about what you don't know than what you do, and start to feel like you're not as good. Like if you know a little bit about something, you feel like you know a lot, and then because you don't know what you don't know, and then once you learn what you don't know, or how deep the rabbit hole goes, kind of thing, then
Yeah.
you start to feel like, oh, I'm actually not that great at this. So as you get better, you feel worse, but you're getting better. So like I still feels grateful because he is getting better, but you still get this sense of getting worse before you get better.
Yeah, because there's that inflated sense of confidence you get once you're at like a just above beginner level in
Yeah.
any sort of field of interest, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so the loss of that as you discover what you really know in comparison to what like can be known.
Right. Is a good thing, and you're getting better. Your skills are improving, but at the same time, it doesn't feel as good.
Yeah, it fucking sucks. It's an awful feeling. So
And
yeah, I guess
that's one approach. I don't know if that's like the thing necessarily, but and also you mentioned like he's not known as like an amazing guitar player. So he's a guitar player, but he's not like that great at it, but he considers it maybe what he does best.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, so yeah, because what he does is he sings, he plays guitar, and he writes lyrics. So I mean, he's clearly not the best like technical guitar player or technical singer. And I mean, lyricism is up to debate for any artist. I can't place him high or low. But yeah, no, I think that skill description is kind of the best. I think that fits the lines pretty well. And for this gift, I feel blessed because in the sense he knows that it's technically a positive thing, maybe. And then, but like, again, sarcastically, he's like, oh, it feels great to know I fucking suck at things I thought I was pretty good at.
Yeah. So cool.
So cool.
Um,
Then we popped our little group has always been and always will until the end.
that I'm a. I mean, this seems so much more straightforward than the rest of the song that I'm like second guessing myself. Like, is there more there, kind of thing?
Uh-huh.
Because like it seems like this band of brothers outlook of what it means to be a rock and roll band, kind of thing.
Right.
Like this is our group,
Okay.
and like it's always been this, and always will be, and maybe a little sarcastic because they were like switching out drummers a lot. I think before they
Hmm.
got like Dave Grohl on board,
Yeah.
they had a couple. They had at least one other drummer. I think
Yeah,
possibly
because Dave
more.
Grohl wasn't the original
No, but I
Nirvana
think this
drummer.
was his first album with. I mean, this is their second album, but this was when he like joined up. So it might have been related to
Yeah.
that. I don't
That's
know.
a pretty good. I was thinking maybe some kind of sinister, like, because again, I'm thinking of big organizations and how they're sort of, almost like cloistered off, incestuous. Like our little group has always been and always will until the end. It kind of speaks to the American ideal of like, oh, America will always prevail, or even like the church, which I think would have probably been big targets for Kurt. Just a guess.
I guess something a little bit more broad than like a band.
Mm-hmm.
But like this idea, yeah, the idea of like kind of that tribalism of like this is our group. We've always been a group. This has always been us, and like it's us against everybody. We're together. All right.
Yeah, and that kind of relates to the opening line: "Load up your guns, bring your friends. We're here to protect this little piece of whatever." And maybe in relation to the "I'm worse at what I do best," he's sort of thinking of this ideal of like ignorance in. You're like, well, this is our little group. It stays together. It stays static because we're happy here.
But yeah, it's happy, it's safe, and like we never grow or
That's right.
change.
Because growing, as established by his sarcastic first two lines, fuck it sucks. Like it's painful.
Yeah, true. That is a connection between those two. I dig it.
Right on. And then we do a pre-chorus, chorus, post-chorus, guitar solo, and then the final verse.
The
Final verse, yeah.
final verse.
Verse 3. And I forget just why I taste. Oh yeah, I guess it makes me smile.
That to me screams like depressive tendencies, like
Mm-hmm.
talking about like not tasting things and like why do I even like everything like food losing its flavor and like not smiling or like just being kind of dismissive of the concept of happiness.
Yeah. And like forgetting what happiness
We're
is
like,
beyond smiling,
do
right?
I like what's the point? Like I can't taste anything, but like why did I ever want to do that? Oh, I guess maybe there's happiness there. Oh, okay. Like it's just even
Mm-hmm.
tone, like don't even care. And we know that Kurt Cobain had some issues with depression.
Yeah.
That's not news.
No.
So, and then the rest of the verse I think kind of supports that. Found it hard, it's hard to find. Oh well, whatever, never mind. Which is the album title. Hey,
Hey.
never mind.
Never
But
mind.
that line, like, oh well, whatever, never mind, like, we talked about this song being kind of definitive of like the early 90s in particular, and like that 90s attitude of like kind of this ironic detachment.
Mm-hmm.
That like that line sums up like the entire thing to me, like in just 4 words. Oh well, whatever, never mind.
Never mind. Yeah, it's just like I'm gonna make a bunch of noise. Eh, forget about it. And that's even kind of like how he treats the song afterwards. He's like, "Yeah, I was trying to be the Pixies. Like, yeah, forget about it. Like, never mind. Don't
Yeah,
think about it.
let's do another
Why are
chorus.
people analyzing this? Don't think about it." Like,
Why are we even here?
mm-hmm. And yeah, another a genius brings up that having a taste is often used in drug culture, and Kurt
Oh,
Cobain was a drug user.
true.
So the other idea behind why I taste, oh yeah, I guess it makes me smile, is like, using drugs to attain happiness, and then forgetting that that's why you're using drugs, and at some point you just kind of use them because to keep stable.
Right. Yes, this is a concept I have heard of before. I didn't hear about. I didn't know that taste was slang for that though.
Oh yeah, it's like have a taste. Just got to get a taste. Let me get a taste, man.
That makes sense. I didn't make that connection.
Yeah, and it's what happens with almost any behavior that provides you dopamine, right? If you fucking get into a habit long enough, there comes a point where you're just like, I'm doing the same thing. I've forgotten why the fuck I'm doing this. Oh, right. I guess like it's supposed to make me happy.
Precisely.
And then yeah, I found it hard. It's hard to find. The it in that equation, is it life? Is it purpose?
Could be anything.
It could be anything, right? I found it hard. It's hard to find. It's just you flip the words around, baby. You got poetry.
You got two. It rhymes. It's like a poem.
And yeah, it's a good line. I like it. Oh well, whatever. Never mind. Yeah, that really is. Like that is the
Just
the
like saying all
cornerstone
this
of
stuff and being
song.
like, nothing matters.
Yeah, it's like
Doesn't matter. Who cares? Okay.
Yeah, and since right from there it goes into the drone again of hello, it's just like that's a perfect slip into that. It's just fucking noise, right?
Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello.
And then you do another chorus, and then they start shouting a denial, or he
Mhm.
starts shouting a denial a bunch, and that's kind of what the song rides out on. Shouting a denial over and over again. And I don't necessarily know what that means.
Well, I guess when you end with Nevermind's kind of like a denial, right?
I guess so. A denial of like everything he said, and then just be like, whatever, never mind.
Yeah.
Denying his own
Denial.
thoughts, kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
or denying like an analysis of, because it does seem to me to be a bit of an analysis of how he sees the like entertainer fan kind of relationship, even though they weren't like
Mm-hmm.
huge at that point, really. So maybe it
Right.
doesn't fully make sense, but there was still a fan base, I assume, to a degree. They
Yeah.
had an album, and he's kind of denying like the opportunity to like look into that and be like, let's just go with it, kind of thing. Like this is our pop song.
Yeah. It's yeah, and maybe the song is in denial of what it is. It's a pop song disguised as a grunge song. It's this like expression of distaste for the music industry that's specifically built to appeal to that.
And just the 90s, so you have to be self-aware.
Yeah, self-aware
Reference
and
the fact that
self-conflicting.
your thing is what it is, but not what it is.
My
That's how it
favorite
goes,
thing
man.
is that the genius annotation for this has one comment on it where the guy says sentence is too complicated for what is actually said, but certainly not uninformative, suggesting that the guy has written too much about this. I think that's silly
Not
to
even that he
think
wrote too much, just that his sentences are too complicated. Like,
like the
actually,
sentence
he only says
structure.
2 different words, so your sentences are too long because of that. I'm like, wait a
Like,
minute.
hang on a second.
I mean, I'm not going to tell you that his sentences aren't too long. I'm not going to judge his sentences, but I'm just saying the content of your sentences doesn't need to be like in the style of the work it is analyzing.
Yeah, or else you're just gonna be like, it's good.
Yeah, it's probably means something. Whatever.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, those are the lyrics. So yeah, like again, I don't know if we landed on anything concrete,
No, I don't feel like we have, but I don't know if we can necessarily. This happens a lot.
but
So.
there is this sort of like emotional picture of angst.
Definitely. It's a lot about the attitude, and I think that comes across in some way.
Mm-hmm. So I suppose it's important to bring up at this point. Smells like Teen Spirit. So the lead singer for Bikini Kill wrote Kurt smells like Teen Spirit on his apartment wall. Teen Spirit was a brand of deodorant for girls in the 90s. Kurt Cobain did not know that when he wrote this song. So he like called her like 6 months later. He's like, "Can I use that fucking line?" She's like, "Yeah, what the fuck? Okay." And so that's where the name derives from. And I think there is something very, again, very funny and like it's almost on the nose about calling your song "Smells Like Teen Spirit" as almost like a call to the revolutionary angst of teenagers, and then having it literally be the name of a product.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of the contradiction of the 90s. I mean, so much of it just sums up what I know about the 90s or what I think I know about the 90s. So,
Yeah, or at least what the 90s has been crystallized as
yeah,
in like the public
exactly.
eye.
Which is probably like 90% because of this song. So,
Yeah.
it's not even fair.
It's hardly fair, but yeah, it's just like this song is so caught up in that moment in time that it is like if you could sell people of the future that this was a parody song of the 90s, if you really tried, you could be like, listen, this is a parody work. It's just supposed to make fun of the 90s. It was made in like 2020.
But we do have a parody song of this song.
That's right. Weird Al does a version of this.
He certainly does. Anyway,
Shout out
maybe we'll talk
Weird Al.
about that because we're about to talk about the music video. No, we're not. We're going to talk about the instrumentation.
The music itself, which
Music.
we've kind of talked about already. So it's guitar, bass, drums. That's really it, and a growly Kurt Cobain. Like he said in that quote, they play with the idea of soft and quiet, and then like hard and loud.
Yes, it's very like to me like texture based because like particularly at the start they start with like a clean guitar and then when you get like they get into this heavy guitar for the like main riff which as discussed it kind of sounds like More Than a Feeling, the riff from More Than a Feeling by Boston.
Yeah.
Supposedly, and I heard this, I couldn't confirm it, but supposedly they used to play More Than a Feeling live and lead into this song. I couldn't confirm that.
That sounds fucking cool.
But I remember hearing that somewhere a while ago. And then, but that's like heavy, and that's these really heavy, like distorted guitar. And supposedly, like they were really like that was a big concern for them recording the album. Was like they wanted to sound heavy, like they wanted it to be like hard rock. And they got like the producer they got in was kind of I don't remember what he had worked on, but it was albums they were kind of trying to sound like, you know, heavier stuff. And then they were having trouble with some of the mastering. And then they
Right.
even called in someone else who had worked on, I think, Slayer albums, something like that.
Okay.
I'm realizing I didn't write this down, but I believe it was like metal stuff, and they were really trying to
I can
get
see
that.
how that would be important. Like even in the low parts, like the sort of growl of the bass, like it's played on the low. It's on the low E string and low A. That's like it's.
Right.
I learned to play it yesterday just to check it out. It's as simple as you fucking think it is, but it doesn't go any higher than the 4th fret on the E string and the A string. So yeah, like not very high.
And the other kind of part of the song, because they come in with that riff, but it's just the introduction, and then it all dies right down, and it's this very, very sparse. Like they stick with the bass, and the drums keep playing, and the bass, as you said, is very simple, like going with the chord progression, which is like 4 chords, and like just repeated over and over and over again, and then the guitar just like as he sings the verse in that there's like a bit of guitar but it's also very sparse, so like it's very open and like it just plays do do like every couple like 2 notes every couple measures, so
yeah,
there's not like a ton going on there texture wise.
And
They
even the
open it way
drums have dialed back from what they are in the chorus.
Yeah. And oh, there's a note in the there's the pre-chorus. So that was the verse.
And so then the pre-chorus takes that sort of guitar and sort of picks it up, like speeds it up, throws a little distortion and echo, and it's
right. And then there's a lot more distorted guitar. That it gets a lot more dense there. Drums are a little more intense. So the sound here is, as far according to, I think a Guitar World, I guess article, done with chorus pedals. So there's like a distortion guitar, and I think are there 2 guitar sounds on here? Maybe not.
Yeah, because there's the distinctly that like fucking like heavy distortion.
Yeah,
like,
so there's a distortion guitar
noise.
and like a chorus guitar, and that's the kind of like they described it as watery.
Yeah, that checks out to me.
and the bass guitar is tuned down. I think you mentioned that. Did you mention that?
Yeah, it's super fucking low.
Yeah. So, just very, very low.
Yeah, and you got the droning of his voice. It's almost getting drowned out by the instruments.
The watery guitar.
Yeah, that watery ass guitar, and then it just like you guys know the chorus. The fucking drums start ripping, and then he starts screaming, and then everything gets fucking hard.
Yeah, and that's like the densest part because now you've got everything. The guitar's playing the riff now. And what's interesting to me about this is like the way the drums play, they kind of like play it boom, 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 boom. Like that's kind of the rhythm that you get out of it, which sort of follows the rhythm of the vocals as well. Like they're working together really.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see that like instruments are really just mirroring each other in this song, right?
Yeah, so everything's kind of staying together. Like they create this density, but it's not a ton of like different stuff going on or anything. It's kind of sonic density without necessarily increasing the musical complexity. It's all based around like kind of effects and stuff.
But without getting muddy either, which is important.
Yeah, which is probably why they're having trouble with some of the mixing and like needed to call extra people in.
Yeah, no kidding.
Maybe, I don't know. But they did a pretty good job. The other thing I wanted to mention, you mentioned it, the melody. And I know I said earlier, like, it's such a like strong melody, vocal melody, which seems like a weird thing to say when he's like screaming really, you know, and like it's very, very like not raspy. Anyway, yeah, screamy voice, but like the melody is so, I mean, it's iconic really at this point, but it's kind of what draws you in. And I know there was some quote, and I don't have the quote unfortunately, about like how much work Kurt Cobain would put into his melodies. Like that was really a large part of his focus, and I think that was actually part of the like lyrics quote, because he's like, I got these lyrics, but like what's more important is like the melody and the harmony, like really, because like that's what's telling kind of the story.
It's the delivery of it. It's not the words. It's how he sings them.
Yeah, and like this is a really strong melody, because like you get to this na, 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 and like that's so simple, but like it's so memorable.
Yeah, and just he sounds like he is putting his all into fucking screaming those out.
That too. The performance is great. I mean, there was another thing about him where he's like on some list of like greatest metal vocalists of all time. I'd be curious. I mean, you always hear about singers who like they sound good, but also they're destroying their voice, so 20 years down the line they just can't do it anymore. I'd be curious if he was still around, what his status would be.
Yeah, be interesting.
Who knows?
Who knows? So that's pretty much the bass structure is that repeated a few times over the course of 5 minutes. The only other big difference is the guitar solo in the middle.
Sure.
Which is, it's rated as like a top guitar solo on a few different lists. But the crazy thing is it really is just a distorted guitar, different level of distortion, essentially playing the vocal melody.
Which, as we discussed, is pretty strong. But is it the hello vocal melody?
I think doesn't it do both? Yeah. Yeah, because it goes.
Yeah, I guess. Sorry.
It drones on into the hello section after that, but
right. Yes, and I guess I didn't shout out the melody in the verses, but also strong. Also strong. I mean, it is basically this guitar solo, so.
Yeah, and I think that like that speaks to like Kurt Cobain's ability to use distortion. Like there's so many different kinds of distortion in this one song.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, and it's very like in many ways simple and in many ways memorable. And I one time, and this is kind of an odd comparison. This was just a casual comparison that I saw someone make on the internet. But I one time heard Kurt Cobain compared to Mark Bolan, in that he was able to kind of repurpose older things in a memorable way, and it wasn't necessarily the most meaningful thing in itself, but like it was memorable and it was catchy, and like in terms of like they both sort of fit the style of the day, but were able to sort of attract people by writing these memorable riffs and melodies, or using these memorable riffs and melodies.
Right.
However you look at it.
Yeah. Smells Like Teen Spirit and Bang a Gong are pretty much the same song.
Pretty much the same song, yeah. Like Children of the Revolution, and no, I don't know many other Nirvana songs. I'm not even gonna.
I forget. I should know that one that was in Rock Band.
20th Century Boy.
Yeah. I know a lot of T-Rex songs. Fucking. Now, the Spaceball Ricochet.
Spaceball Ricochet.
The Slider. Fucking. I think one's just called Girl.
Yeah, I think one's just called God. No, that's not right. No, that's a different song. Never mind.
So really, yeah, Nevermind is the A Beard of Stars of Nirvana.
Sure.
It's all the same shit, bro. It's all the same. Anyway, yes, I agree, concur. Anything else to say about the instrumentation before we jump into the music video?
No, not really.
Yeah, right. Let's fucking do this. So the music video takes place in like a high school gym with your classic black curtains laying down. There's like a basketball hoop. There's a long-haired Dave Grohl on drums. And they're fucking playing music to this group of what starts out as kind of disinterested high school students. They're just sitting there. It's like a pep rally. There's cheerleaders with their like regular ass cheerleading uniforms on.
Which
this janitor.
Also the cheerleaders also seem pretty disinterested. They're just like twirling their pom poms around and like not really moving their legs.
Yeah. And then throughout the video, it cuts to this janitor who seems to just be really grooving to the music like the whole time. He's just like, fuck yeah, like this is a jam. And then the audience of high schoolers grows like increasingly like agitated almost. They start to get into it. They start dancing. They're taking their shirts off and getting buck wild. The cheerleaders' uniforms change into these black ones with anarchy A's on them.
That's right. They do have the A's. Do they change, or do they always have the A on them?
I thought it was a change. I just might have not been paying close enough attention.
Because I think they start out black, but you can't see the symbol. Like the camera's on the other side of them.
Okay, yeah. So it's revealed at the very least.
Which is, I mean, it looks like Anarchy A, but it's also supposed to be like sports team or whatever.
Yeah. Because they're cheerleaders.
Yeah. To me, like, as much as the content of this video is interesting and like they kind of progress into this like party state, and then there's fire, I think. The look of the video is kind of the memorable thing to me, because that look of like this foggy, smoky gymnasium sort of thing, or like room with like things hung in the back, just like sheets hung up.
Yeah. It's fucking, garage band kind of look.
Yeah, and like and the really stark like orange lighting, and like the way the band has these like shadows on them, and they're sort of like the hair is covering their face, and there's light shining on the face, but like at least Kurt's face, like he's got a spotlight on his face. But also like it's sort of hidden because of the hair, and like he'll step out of the spotlight sometimes, and like I don't know, it's the lighting really to me that's like the memorable part of this.
Yeah, for sure. It's a well lit, like the lighting on this really does set the atmosphere for it.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. The video ends with Kurt actually fucking destroying his guitar. And then then it's a close up on his mouth, like finishing it. But yeah, and this whole riot, and then the janitor's sweeping up as there's this presumably like a principal or something tied up with a dunce cap on him.
Yeah. They've tied someone with a bow tie up. And then the janitor's just cleaning up.
Yeah, so I wonder if this like relates to sort of the chorus, like I feel stupid and contagious. He gets this whole group of high schoolers just like fucking rowdy, and then they tear the place up. And then afterwards the janitor just is like, well, this is a pretty good song, and just like keeps on fucking sweeping.
Just doing his job, man. Yeah,
because since he doesn't have teen spirit, because he's an old guy, he's just like, oh, this is a jam, but he doesn't like get caught up in it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he's the wise old janitor or something. I don't know.
Who knows? But yeah, it feels just kind of like an like just a piece. It's just like, you know, you look at it, you get the emotion, the vibe from it, the lighting. What's happening is almost irrelevant.
Yeah. Well, that's what really stuck with me anyway, because I didn't see the music video for a long time, but I saw clips of it, and I just remember
Mm.
yeah, the lighting.
But yeah, I tell you this, smells like fucking Teen Spirit.
Certainly does. There's also a Weird Al Yankovic music video for his
Mhm.
parody called Smells Like Nirvana, and it's all about how he can't understand the lyrics. It's pretty amusing. The drummer has very similar drums, but they say drum on them instead of Shaka. Shaka?
Shaka.
Like with
Shaka
CH.
Khan.
And there's like a chubby guy in one of the cheerleader outfits. The janitor eats a bagel out of his mop thing, like with the water in it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's I just wanted to bring that up because why not?
Yeah.
There's a guy on fire at one point. You know,
I know, dude.
it's a parody.
It's a parody. My problem is the secondhand song never lists the parodies. Or at least never lists Weird Al ones for me.
Well, you know what it did list? That one Christian version of that one. So what song was it? Anyway.
It was fucking.
I can't remember.
No, it's Live and Let Die. It was never.
That was
Really
didn't just
died.
yeah, so it listed that one. So anyway, that happened. There's also another recording of them performing the song on Top of the Pops, and they were upset about it because they had to use like a pre-recorded instrumental track with live vocals, and Kurt's just like singing super low, just been like, "Here we are now, entertain," like kind of like the Muppets version that we're going to talk about later. So it's kind of funny, and the band's just like fucking around because they're not actually playing their instruments.
I love it when bands do that.
Anyway, so that's fun.
That's fun.
And there's lots of versions of this song.
We got a lot of covers to talk about today, so we're going to jump into them. First on the list is Tori Amos in 1992.
Tori Amos.
Hello, with the lights out, it's less dangerous. Here we are now, entertain us.
So she's a singer-songwriter. She's been around for a while. I've heard the name before.
Yeah, me too.
Definitely. Don't know much about her other than that. Other than the things I looked up, which is she was the inspiration for one of the characters in Neil Gaiman's Sandman?
Sandman.
The character
Sandman.
Sandman? Is that it?
Sandy.
Sandy? Character Delirium.
Delirium.
And apparently they're good friends because he's her daughter's godfather.
Okay.
So that's neat. And she also performed a song in the Good Omens soundtrack. Just played
Yeah,
the
I
piano.
thought so.
And this is mostly piano stuff, this version.
Yeah, so it starts with this sort of like rolling like arpeggio on the piano kind of thing.
And doesn't stick with that kind of rolling arpeggio like you said, and then she starts singing pretty quick. She's classically trained as a singer, and she sounds like it. Like she sounds like there's a lot of like restraint here. You know, she knows how to like control that.
Yeah, I think
cool.
there was some great like quieter vocal dynamics. It made me think of, I've written here, like a pained Otis Redding, you know?
Pained Otis Redding. Okay, interesting.
Because we're on his version of What a Wonderful World. He just fucking gives it like so much energy and all these different twists on how you can punch lines, and this is like the opposite, like how you can sort of pull punches and sort of like bring it inwards.
Right. And then in terms of the piano playing, I think it kind of follows at least the idea behind, or what I think is the idea behind the original, in that it's very like texture based.
Yeah.
Like it starts more sparse and then like there's more stuff and it's still those like arpeggios, so still kind of a different style, but the core is like a similar idea. So I was pretty impressed by like this version because like it's softer and it's kind of more like twinkly sound. It's obviously not like this metal distortion, but it still has like that spirit of how the original works mechanically.
Yeah, and she plays around with like where she's playing it on the piano, how heavy she's hitting the notes. Like it's like dynamics again is like what makes this shine. Is she has this good idea of heavy and light both in her instrument playing and in her vocals. And it makes this very like rich, like haunting sort of version of this.
Yeah, which is we sometimes we often don't like slow piano covers, and this is very much a slow piano cover, but this is like done well. Like
this
so-
is what you want people to
Yeah.
hear when you're doing a piano cover. You want this sort of impression where it's like, oh, this person has had a weight inside of them that they are bringing out through this song.
Yeah, exactly. This is the good version of all of that, which we've come across before, and this is another one. Cyndi Lauper did
given-
one,
Yeah.
not in this song. And let's see what else is there to note about in this version. This is gonna happen in a lot of them where they skip the last two lines of the chorus, but
Right.
they sing them the last time. Sort of.
That's right.
Leave them out. So they'll
And
say, "Here we are now,
also-
entertain us," and then that's the end of that chorus.
And she doesn't say how low when she does the hellos.
Right, and I guess part of that is probably, I mean, as you mentioned, there weren't official lyrics published, so you're just going based on what you hear, and they do sound very similar.
And this is 92, so yeah, like
Yeah.
she was hot on the heels of the original
Didn't
release.
have much time to like analyze. Just listened
No.
and said what you thought it was, what it meant.
Yeah, so it's like the piano does good build-ups through the hello section. It holds true to the simple progression of the original while also doing these sort of flourishes. It's just a solid version, I think.
Yeah, and the one other like specific thing I want to shout out, because I don't know, it's kind of neat. The last chorus on the "Entertain Us" line, which is the end of the chorus on the other times, but she goes and sings the final few lines this time. She like really slows it up and like kind of turns it back, and like you can really hear it's like in her teeth kind of thing when she says "Entertain us."
Oh yeah, just got it.
Yeah, it's like 2:30 something.
Yeah,
3 or 4.
Like if you go 2:35, you'll get it. 2:33 if you want to give it some space.
Just give it a little
Give it a little run-up time, you know.
Yeah. Get some context. Yeah, so that's I think part of that like vocal restraint and like just knowing the technique and stuff.
And yeah, and texture again, like you said, like the words hit different.
Exactly. Texture, and I mean there's a bit where she just like breathes heavily for a while, about 2 minutes in. So
yeah,
like,
that's right.
there's a lot of that kind of stuff, and it's like good effects just to make make it fit with her sort of presentation of this song, her rendition.
Yeah, it's just this cover shows like a strong command of just like your voice and your instrument. It's pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah, it's good shit.
Let's talk about Dusty Cowhsit in 1995.
Let's talk about Dusty Cowhsit.
When the lights out, it's so dangerous. Here we are now, entertainers. I feel stupid and contagious. Here we are now.
So they're a Norwegian group. They're kind
Yeah.
of. They remind me of the Cog is Dead. We talked about them on the Bad Guy episode.
Yeah.
But like it's a real music genre. But it's sort of that kind of like mostly live music group that
Yeah, that's like
is
part
very, like,
joke, but people
showy.
were like,
Yeah,
we like this
exactly.
joke, and they're like, all right.
okay, it's fun. Like we'll keep going.
Yeah.
So they don't have a lot of like recorded material on Spotify, but I don't know if they're still together, but they definitely did more like live stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like country,
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
like more old school country type type
So
music.
yeah, they. I have a quote I think here from their. Maybe I didn't put it down, but yeah, it's like country. Like it's supposed to be like kind of like spoofing American country music, that kind of shit.
Right, yeah, even like looking at the album artwork, it's like this like showy cowboy who's got like a sequined, maybe it's shiny, like he's got this shiny sport coat type thing on with like white leather holster, like it's very showy. It's not like gritty cowboys. It's like
Exactly. So the quote is, the band is known for making humorous, parodic cover versions of old songs in their very distinctive hillbilly/Americana/country style.
Yep, that's it.
That sums it up. So this is like primarily instrumental except for the choruses.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting the way they've broken it up because they replace the vocals with other instruments at times.
Mm-hmm.
Like they do what is it? It's like a trumpet that plays the verses.
Yeah.
Sort of
And there's usually like a harmonica that leads into them.
Yes. Well, there's a harmonica that kind of plays throughout because like they have this acoustic guitar that plays like the main riff, and then there's a lot of the sort of scoop. I don't know exactly what the name of the technique is, but on a harmonica, basically, if you draw on the fourth hole in the harmonica is if you blow, it's the tonic, and then if you draw, it's the second note in the key.
Okay.
And then you can also bend down on that, so you can make that like kind of like sound, and that's a pretty common thing, and they do that a ton in this song.
It reminds me of School by Supertramp.
Yes, exactly. Very much. So like they really use that, and that is like a very distinctive like harmonica technique of like bending the note and then going back into the sort of unbent note.
Yeah, that is like throughout this piece. So the tempo on this is a little faster than the original. You can tell by listening to the bass line, which is as simple as the original, just quicker.
Yes, they've also replaced the drums with a more like it's a more country sounding kind of like driving rhythm, like bum ba bum ba bum ba bum.
Yeah, like a horse gallop.
Yeah, like a gallop
percussion.
sound, exactly. So they've got that Western thing in there. They never do like a train chug with the harmonica though. Little disappointing.
No.
But what are you gonna do?
They do
Can't
still
use
have
all your
cymbal
tricks.
crashes in this though. Going back to the percussion briefly, so they'll use cymbal crashes to sort of transition to different parts,
Okay.
along with just
I
occasionally.
didn't take note of that, but
I did.
That
So,
sounds reasonable.
Smarten up next time.
Ugh, damn it.
Fucking got you, bro. Yeah, so we get the trumpet on the first one, and then we get all of the dudes, I think, singing when it comes to the pre-chorus is hello, 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 hello.
Yeah, it's not like, and we've talked about songs in the past where like, it was maybe Live and Let Die was one, where like the backup vocals came in for like one line. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was insane.
This almost seemed like it would be that, but then they like stuck with it, so it was all right. And then they actually, so they got like a whole group, and they do something similar for the chorus, but they kind of have one like lead singer, but then also the other guys in the background doing the singing along. So it's like everyone's kind of singing at the same time, or at least it's multi-tracked. And then they do like a change up after they do the chorus.
Hang on, I don't think it can be multi-track because this is a live recording.
Oh, well then never mind. Well, you can still do that live, but
I mean,
it's probably
I'm
all
pretty
of
sure
them
it's
singing.
them singing. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds more like that. And then the other thing is during the chorus, the drums kind of get a little more clicky, I think.
Yeah.
Or that's where that rhythm I described happens.
Yeah, it gets
the,
almost
like,
jazzy
clappy
at
clap.
around the like 120 mark.
Yeah, it kind of changes, and then like they slow down completely, which you'd expect from the verses here, and then they do that sound with the harmonica, and then the drums do change, and the bass gets this really like, what did I call it? I didn't call it funky. I called it groovy.
Yeah, it's almost like a stand-up bass kind of tone you're getting out of it.
And like completely different, and then they get this like which I would associate with jazz, like
Yeah.
you said. And sometimes it sounds like the bass is playing 2 notes at once, which is fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, that's nuts, dude.
2 notes.
It's
Holy
fucking
shit.
dangerous.
And then kind of the trumpets get to do their own thing of like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, which is just like a swung version of the melody, the verse melody.
Mm-hmm.
And
So we get another. After that, we get another chorus, and then we had the 2:05 mark. One of the guys says, "Blow it away, Gurf."
I don't know if it's a Norwegian name I am not familiar with, but I heard like Gur.
I looked at the band members on their Wikipedia page. None of them
Sure.
have a name that even looks like. The closest one guy has the last name Gunn.
Could be like Gun.
A little bit. Gunn.
Is he a violinist? Because a violin solo
Yeah.
follows.
Yeah, no,
Or
actually, I
fiddle
think Gunn
solo.
was the banjo player.
I don't know
Might have been
that, man.
violin too.
So I thought at first this was a harmonica solo because it says "blow it away," and then it gets all screechy, and I was like, "Yeah, we're getting some
Yeah.
harmonica." And no, it's a
No.
violin.
This very pained violin, or it's very high up, very strained sounding.
Yeah. And
But
other
then
than
the
that-
harmonica rips through the parts after that.
yes, so they do another chorus, and the
Mhm.
harmonica. It's still really built on that like bend,
Yeah.
but it actually gets to play a little bit more this time, so it's a little more interesting.
And then they end with that whistle from, I want to say like a fistful of dollars.
Yes.
Like
The ooh, the whistle, but they like whistle it.
Yeah.
Exactly, and then that's the end.
Yeah. I guess that's a big key thing to note. The original song ends on like an echoed out sort of final note. And a lot of songs stay true to that. There's not really any fade out endings on here, but we do get that sort of final like end, and sometimes it's more like a dissolve.
Which is like a relief
Yeah.
because we've had so many shitty fade outs in the last couple weeks. Oh man.
No kidding.
Yeah, and that's the like kind of parody country version.
Yeah, like
Or like
honestly,
semi-parody country version.
not
But like it's
not
solid.
bad.
No. It's a little more old school. Like so, as far as country goes, that would be more reasonable to me. So
And I think the like taking away the focus from the vocals, which I don't think is their strong suit, except in like a sort of comedy context. I imagine
Right.
it's funny seeing 9 dudes sing that, but like focusing on the violin, the harmonica, the instruments, like it, and the trumpets, like it's much
Yeah.
cooler, I think.
yeah, it definitely switches it up, makes it feel a little different. And I mean there's not as much like emotional drive behind it, but still, we talked about how strong the rest of the song is, so
Mhm.
just using that works pretty well.
Fucking A.
Yeah,
With that, we're gonna move into Patti Smith in 2007.
Patti Smith.
With the lights out, it's less dangerous. Here we are now. Entertain us. I feel
Patti fucking
Um,
Smith.
So we've talked about Patti Smith before. She's done some garage rock type stuff from the like early 70s through to I guess today. She released an album not as a solo artist, but like not that long ago. She's kind of known for her like slam poetry type poetry, like modern free verse type poetry, and she brings it to this. She definitely brings
Yeah,
it
she
to
does.
this. It's not exactly Jesus died for somebody's sins, but not mine.
But it's
it's-
in the vein of that.
Yeah, same idea in a lot of ways.
Like
or
it is
similar ideas.
distinctly Patti Smith, I
It
think.
is definitely Patti Smith's stuff. So this is also like kind of more country.
Yeah.
I think there's like I mean, if you look at the album art, it's like Native American influence for sure,
Mm-hmm.
like heavily.
So yeah, it's like that, like country sort of Americana.
Yeah, and like the beginning starts with like this slow bass, and then but it plays the dun, dun, like the sparse
I think
guitar
it's-
part, but it's on a
Yeah.
banjo, I believe,
Yeah, and that bass is definitely a stand-up bass.
because it's so deep.
Yeah,
so
you can just hear
low.
from the tone of it. Yeah, so this one sort of builds up like a chaotic consistent like folk backing track.
Yeah, progressively like over the song because it starts with just that bass
Yeah,
and then like
it's
adds
almost
a banjo,
like a
adds
wind up
lyrics.
toy, you know? Like it starts out slow and then it fucking builds momentum and then it's really going at it and then it slowly peters out.
So yeah, that's an interesting structure. That's I mean not uncommon, but it's very like stark.
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of like adds like they'll add a violin in the background and you start to hear the I mean, it's got that like drone feeling with the
Mm-hmm.
violins, which I have liked in the past. And it's pretty effective here too.
Yeah, and even with that bass is sort of plotting. It's like a boom dum dum dum
Yeah, they don't it's not like
dum.
like in the original. It's just like play once a measure or something.
Yeah.
Bum,
And so yeah, you set up this
bum,
sort of like
bum,
steady like main rhythm
bum.
and then it's just like stringed instruments coming in and like grinding and doing crazy finger picking and so yeah, it's like banjo and violin just fucking going buck wild in the back.
Yeah, and creating that texture that we have discussed on almost
maybe
every version
key
so
to
far.
this song is texture.
And lots of people seem to be getting that. Of course, we've talked about like pretty prominent artists so far, minus
Yeah.
Dusty Cowhsit, like Tori Amos, Patti Smith. Like these are not nobodies.
Yeah, these are pretty big names.
And then her singing also is like very twangy in this.
Particularly in the chorus, yeah.
Yes.
She goes up at the end of like every line.
And yeah,
You can hear that.
entertain us?
It's very similar to Gloria, actually. Where
Really?
she does that like putting
Oh,
on
that's
the
right.
parking corner, sitting on the parking meter. She goes up on stuff, so that's like classic Patti Smith style, I think.
I guess so. I guess some of her like in the middle stuff like it's maybe a little it's more like 80s influence and is a little less like this sort of like poetry, you know? Like a
Mhm.
Because the Night or something is a little less twangy.
Yeah.
But this is definitely like her bread and butter.
Oh yeah, 100%. So she's like and like translating it from a like a Kurt Cobain vocal to Patti Smith, like she doesn't need to do that shouting because I don't know, her voice just has that sort of like grunge element to it,
Right,
that sort of roughness to
It's
it.
a pretty distinct voice and she can do some of that like rough sound and then add that twang on top too.
Yeah, like the transition was so smooth to me. I was just like, yeah, obviously Patti Smith's gonna cover this. Like,
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Like you don't even like
Mhm.
you think about it for a second like yeah, of course. Why wouldn't she?
and so yeah, that like it's this build of instruments that tails off near the end. This is a 6-minute version, and a big reason for that is at the 3:25 mark, she inserts like basically a minute of her own poetry into this.
Yeah. And it's about like the environment probably.
So here it is. It's actually on Genius. So
Oh, I
good
forgot to
job,
look it up.
Genius. So the empty hand of innocence, transfusing streets of the sorrows and children of the wood, hounded, shredding all veils and winding all sheets of the dead world droning, overturning tables laden with silver sacrificial birds, beating goat skin drums, advancing with hands outstretched, and we keep filling them with mercury nitrate, asbestos,
Mercury
baby
nitrate,
bombs, blasting
asbestos.
glue. Scavengers picking through the ashes, children of the mills, children of the junkyard, sleepy, illiterate, fuzzy little rats, haunted, paint sniffing, stoned out of their shaved heads, forgotten, foraging, mystical children, foul mouthed, glassy eyed, hallucinating.
Yeah. So that's Patti Smith poetry right there.
That's right there. I mean, I think it really does bring ideas of counterculture. There's this concept of how we're sort of mistreating the youth who comes to us with their empty hand of innocence, and we fill them with mercury nitrate, asbestos, and bombings. It's sort of about, I think, killing our own future, which is a big thing we do in the name. And I like again,
Which
I
we've
imagine
done from time to time.
Yeah, I imagine Patti Smith is pretty anti-corporate, so I feel like those ideas are latched on here. Children's of the mills, of the junkyards, these ideas of American waste.
Mhm.
And, they're left sleepy, as in like not woke, bro. Illiterate, fuzzy little rats, paint sniffing, stoned out of their shape. Like, there's all these ideas of just this sort of like this youth that we like has been destroyed by society,
Right, and
made
like
to,
and framing that with this song that was like very much kind of like an anthem of a generation, written by like or with this fairly angsty attitude by a person who like later went on to commit suicide. Like it all kind of fits together.
mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And like goat skin drums, I feel like the goat brings up ideas of Satanism, or like again something counter to America, which is a good Christian nation, as we all know.
As we
And,
all know.
yeah, there's just ideas of feralness. It's very like it's very Patti Smith and very
Yeah.
like relates to America in a very clear way, and I think pulls on maybe conceptions of the original song as well as of Kurt Cobain. I think it fits in pretty well here.
The only other thing I wanted to mention, there's so after all that, there's a violin solo, like
Yes.
right afterwards, and I just think it's like the most punk violin solo because it's like very repetitive and like simple, and they're very clearly like really reefing on this thing. It's just like, you know?
Yeah, it
like
really is just hitting
4:15.
the same things, but like hitting them hard.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just so punk to me, this violin solo.
And yet everything in the background is like still going. There's this fucking chaos, and it's so awesome because in like the last minute, things literally just kind of, it's like, you know, like wheels falling off of a wagon. Things just start to stop. The banjo plucking almost gets like, it slows down and it gets almost sloppier sounding until it kind of mellows out, slows down, and just completely peters out.
And then she says libido a bunch
Yeah.
right at the end.
If there's one thing we know about Patti Smith, it's that she loves to fuck.
Maybe that's
Between
is that
this and
something we know about
Gloria?
Patti Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we do now. Anyway,
But yeah,
Yeah.
she's fucking good at covering music. That comes from a whole album of covers called 12. That's got "Are You Experienced" by Jimi Hendrix. Everybody Wants
Yeah.
to Rule the
got
World
some neat
by
stuff.
Tears for
The Boy
Fears.
in the Bubble is on here.
Yeah.
Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Anyway,
Yeah,
Did you say
Everybody
that already?
Hurts. Yeah, I did.
sorry.
Fucking Soul Kitchen. It's got some good shit on it. It's
Yeah.
definitely worth checking out. With that, we're going to move into our next cover, which is Rhythms del Mundo in 2009.
Mundo.
With the lights out, it's less dangerous. Here we are now, entertain us.
Which starts out
Um,
identical to Tori Amos's version.
Yeah,
like,
very similar, just like
beat
piano.
for beat. But yeah, there are a what is it, Afro-Cuban group that
Yeah, well, Rhythms del Mundo's a like a collective. They're a non-profit
Yeah.
group that creates these albums. They get famous people to come and perform and record, and then the proceeds go to like charity,
mhm.
disaster relief, and climate change.
So let me ask you this then, Alex. Who the fuck is
Yes.
Sinead?
It's a good fucking question.
That's because it's sure as fuck not O'Connor.
No, it's not. It's not spelled the same for sure.
No.
It is. I found her, but she doesn't have much info on her. Like I couldn't find. Like I saw pictures of her, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But like other names on this album, like the Killers, Amy Winehouse, the Rolling Stones, fucking Fallout Boy, John Mayer.
Damn, son.
No one is listed under Purple Haze. Like there's some big names on this album. I don't know who Sinead is.
Yeah, goddamn.
I know it's a Gaelic name.
Yeah.
That's what I know.
Well, so this one fucking, like we said, starts out like the Tori Amos version, piano, then some acoustic guitar comes in, and you know she starts to sing. It's not until we get to the pre-chorus that things start to really shake up and diverge.
Yeah, this one builds up more because it sounds like it's gonna be slow, and then suddenly you get to the pre-chorus and you're like, boom, Latin rhythm,
Yeah,
unexpected, not
just
unwelcome,
out of nowhere.
not unwelcome.
Not unwelcome. It sounds very cool.
Yeah, because she's just doing the hello, and it's like, bum, bum, tip, bum, bum, tip, bum,
Yeah,
tip.
comes in almost hypnotic. You get that. You get the bass coming in.
And that stays throughout the rest of the song, kind of like actually fairly high in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
The rhythm. I thought. And then they get some, because like you mentioned, it was Cuban, so there's some of that like Buena Vista Social Club style, like trumpet playing and things like that.
Yeah.
Sort of like almost big bandy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like what do we call it? Cuban salsa.
Yeah, these sort of low playing horns rather than big triumphant ones.
Yeah. And it's sort of like in the rest of the song, like the go between like there being trumpets and piano, and sometimes, I mean, the rhythm stays, but like the piano will come in, the piano will drop out. There's also strings that come in at times. They'll drop out for a bit, so it's kind of like different combinations of those.
Yeah, exactly. And she's got these kind of like poppy vocals. The piano comes back in to do some, like some ambient kind of note playing.
Which I think she's the piano player in this.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. The chorus has these big long notes on the horn section. They're like,
Just kind of in the background.
kind of building in the back.
Yeah. What's up?
Yeah, there's what?
Oh, right after she like does a chorus, and then like there's this just like distorted electric guitar that starts to play.
Yeah, very cool. It's got an almost like 70s rock vibe to it rather than like 90s grunge.
Yeah, it's a little bit cleaner, but still distorted. But
Still
not in that
distorted.
like, not in the sort of like grunge metal influenced way. More like the hard rock.
Yeah, like it doesn't
pre-metal
have
or
like
not metal.
crunch to it. It's got this just like an edge to it.
Yeah. So cool sound, and then that does like a little solo, and then they go back into a pre-chorus, and then like right at the end, she does like a yeah line as the end, and then there's like a little bit of like guitar feedback, and then like the acoustic guitars does this like Spanish picking, like style picking, and then just like that's the end of the song. So there's some like cymbals and
like
done.
a good finish.
Yeah.
I don't know if it fully gets the vibe of the original in any which way, but that might just be I'm not like musically literate with sort of like Latin beats and things.
Potentially,
Where, like-
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, or like is the Tori Amos version like clearly pulls on sort of the sadness of the like teen angst elements. The Dusty Cowhsit version is like a humor piece. It pulls on the energy and just kind of like has a good time with it. Patti
Right.
Smith's is like Patti Smith's version is like it's just an alternate universe version of the song.
Yeah.
Where Patti Smith wrote it first.
Although, well, I have to disagree with that a little bit, and the reason for that is I think the context the song originally was published in is important to the poem placed in the middle. So I think
That's fair.
that it existing prior to this cover is actually important to it.
That's fair. Yeah, it exists in the same way her cover of Gloria exists, where she synthesizes her poetry with the song and like builds something. With Gloria, I would
it's
argue
related.
better. With
It's
this,
not-
it builds something different.
It's
yeah.
not arbitrary. It's not just using a popular song to get her poetry out. They
so
are.
yeah,
It's relevant.
but yeah, I guess not an alternate universe, but it builds on the original in a way, and like it just kind of twists it in a new angle, or it provides a little more light on it. Like it works with the energy of the original song very clearly. Whereas this one, to me, I'm not really seeing the connection so much musically.
Sure. Yeah.
Like it's an interesting arrangement. I think it's skillfully
Although taking
played.
it out of the sort of like Western tradition, even though Cuba's in the West, you know what I mean? Does like kind of change the context and make it more difficult, as you said, for us to maybe analyze in that way.
Yeah, that said, I still think it's well done. I just don't know if it hits the mark quite as much as some of the other versions we've talked about.
Right.
today.
Yeah, it's definitely cool with that rhythm, and there's some cool sounds, and that guitar you'd think might be out of place, but it wasn't for reasons I don't fully understand. So the electric guitar. So yeah, I thought it was pretty well done.
Yeah. So with that, we're gonna talk about what's arguably the best version of this song. To tip my hand, it's the Muppet Barbershop Quartet in 2011.
With the lights out. Here we are now. I feel stupid.
Yes, this is the longer version, but part of this was in the Muppets movie
In 2011,
from 2011, and
the Jason Segel one.
the Jason Segel one, and Jack Black is in this scene. Did you watch the scene?
Yes, I did. Yes. So the quartet consists of Sam the Eagle, Ralph the dog, Link Hogthrob. I'm gonna say that one more time. Link Hogthrob.
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 Hogthrob. Yeah.
And
I
Beaker.
I also had to look up the names. I knew none of them because I forgot Beaker's name.
So this is in the movie it's part of their like Muppet show to raise enough money to I can't remember what they're trying to do in the movie. Are they trying to just buy back the Muppets like license or whatever, like identity rights so they can do the Muppet show?
I don't remember exactly. They want to do the show again, basically. And
Yeah,
they're trying to.
basically.
They need to raise money or something, and they need to do a show. And there's a villain. It's not Jack Black.
No.
This scene is done. Jack Black's tied up, and they're shaving him, and he's like,
Yeah.
"You're ruining one of the greatest songs of all time." But like, it's a
Yeah.
you know,
He's
it's
Jack Black
It's
and
just they're
loves
messing
rock and
around.
roll.
He's a paid actor. He's supposed to be Jack Black in this scene.
Yes.
It's Jack Black as himself.
As
it's not
Jack Black.
someone being played by Jack Black. And that his voice is totally taken out of this version, which is
Yeah.
easy because in the movie version they just ignore him. He just talks and they sing. Like he
and
just talks
they-
over them, so it doesn't really
So they
matter.
set up they trade the lines around between the four characters. Generally one does it, then the next, then the next, then the last one, and then they repeat the order. And that's key because there are two important omissions in lyrics here. The first being that they don't say bring your guns. They don't even fill it in with anything. They just say bring your and then bring your friends along or what. Load up. Yeah, say load up on and then bring your friends.
Yeah, totally censored.
And then when they go to the last two lines of the chorus, instead of saying the racially charged term, they just have Beaker say it.
Me.
An albino.
He also meeps over libido.
Yeah.
So,
Beaker's a little racist, horny
three
piece of shit.
words they were like, maybe we don't want these in our movie. Beaker. And it works. You don't even notice. Like,
Yeah, it's a clever use of censorship.
yeah, so they all sing, but I think Sam the Eagle takes the verses for the most part.
For the most
Sam the
part,
Eagle's the
yeah.
deeper voice. Ralph the dog is the raspier voice. Link Hogthrob is kind of the slow sounding voice.
Again, Hogthrob.
Hogthrob. I just wanna underline that name.
Just gonna
Link
underline that.
Hogthrob.
Hogthrob.
Oh, and the
Can you imagine if in the next Zelda game, Shigeru Miyamoto is like, yes, his last name's Hogthrob.
Hogthrob. Oh damn! It was based on a Muppet the whole time. Just name Link Hogthrob if you can name Link this time. Not a bad name for a Link. Anyway, also the song opens with the like hello, 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 hello.
Yeah, the
like,
classic
harmonization.
Barbershop Quartet
Classic.
bit.
Good shit.
Classic.
The rest of it's like a cappella. Also Muppets. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's like exactly what you're expecting.
Like if anyone can do
It's-
a cappella, it's the Muppets because they're puppets. No, they're Muppets. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I misspoke.
How fucking dare you? But yeah, it's here we are now, entertainers.
Yeah, so it's like
Bum,
it's funny
bum,
like cartoon
bum,
voices and just like doing like a variety show a cappella version of Smells Like Teen Spirit. with,
Yeah,
like,
I'm gonna go on the
bum,
record.
bum, bum.
Best a cappella version we have ever talked about and will ever talk about on this podcast.
Unless we talk about more Muppets stuff.
Yeah, then
Which
we'll-
maybe
then
we
we'll
should
have to show
retire
it
it now.
down.
We'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how much merit there is in discussing this beyond, hey, look, the Muppets sometimes did a cappella covers.
And it's fun. How about that?
Yeah, it's fun. Let's talk about the next version, Alex, which
Let's
is
talk about it.
fucking Cinematic Pop featuring McKenna
Cinematic-
Breinholt in 2017.
With the lights out, it's a stages. Here we are now, entertainers. I
talked about these guys before? Have we talked about cinematic pop?
It seems like something we would have talked about.
I
Right? You know what it is?
cannot remember what song it was.
You're thinking about, because I had the same thought. You're thinking about the ones from the Bond song from Diamonds Are Forever,
I don't
who were
think
named
so.
after the. Are you sure? Because they're named after fucking they're named after like the predecessor to IMAX or whatever. So we talked about a band called Cinerama.
Oh no, I think it was something before. Like I remember it being in the past because I had this weird sense of deja vu. Because I think it had to have been either last spring or like fall. Because the way the light was hitting my desk through my tiny window down here, and like I had this weird deja vu, and I swear that I had talked about this group before, but I don't remember.
It's very possible. So they're like
It's hard
a
to look
choir
through. Yeah.
/ orchestra that does cover songs. That's their thing. Cinematic pop. It's right there in the title.
Yes. So they kind of open. McKenna Breinholt, she's singing. She I think was on America's Got Talent. And it sort of starts with this like pizzicato, like do 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 do, like pattern on some lower strings. It sounds like, and then soft vocals come in, kind of over top of that. I think they're very like modern pop sounding.
Yeah.
The way she sings, and whatever that means to you. And then
I've looked over their stuff on Spotify and nothing is.
Yeah, I don't
song
know.
we
I just
covered.
they seem familiar, but I can't remember.
It's like a familiar concept.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's
So they
so
and they've just got this like they start very low and they've just got this like orchestral thing going on with the like low strings, and then like they add piano, and then it's all very soft, and then she says hello a lot.
yeah,
As
it's
expected.
it's very boring.
Yeah, I'm trying to find things to talk about.
So we go from the first verse directly into the second verse. We don't break for a chorus.
Right.
And then it's pretty fucking boring. And then the choir starts to build at the minute mark, and then it comes to this big grandiose chorus. Which, if the Rhythms del Mundo version was sort of removed from the context of the original, this one is fully removed. Like there is no emotional connection.
Yeah, they really, and then like they get like that chorus, and it's this like big sweeping orchestral arrangement, like bum, bum, like I don't know, it's like moving back and forth, and like interesting, I guess, like in its own context, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like it's so disconnected that the highs of this song, any excitement you're getting from this song, is not really connected to the fact that it smells like Teen Spirit.
And you get that like oh like choir stuff, just to have another random thing.
It's like it's like if you have a marijuana edible, if you can eat it to both enjoy the taste of the food and get high, or you can just fucking swallow it whole like a snake to get high, and
Like a snake.
that's what this song is. It's just like give me the benefits.
Swallow it whole.
Of orchestral music, and if it has to come to me in the form of it smells like Teen Spirit, so be it.
Yeah, I don't love this. I mean, the cinematic thing, it makes sense. It kind of has that movie soundtrack feel, but it's really more chasing the movie soundtrack than it is the like smells like Teen Spirit concept.
Yeah, and like I used to always talk about Hey Ya and how it has that conflict between the lyrics and the composition, but that's like a positive of that song.
Sure.
And those two mashing up against each other makes for something interesting that he even comments on in the song.
Yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
meaningful.
But here it's just nothing. It's like you ever try to combine two things in your mouth? You're like, this will be crazy, and then it just ends up tasting like those two things in your mouth.
Yeah, and they just don't add to each other.
Yeah,
like
they're
mint
completely separate.
Mint and Coca-Cola. Those
Yeah.
don't go well together at all.
That sounds fucking awful.
That's actually specifically bad. So that's not what you're talking about, but I learned that one time.
Yeah, it's like inert. Like it's just like nothing.
Yeah, and like you expect them to kind of be I know what you mean.
Like water. If you put water and like oil in your mouth, you'd be like, well, I thought they were going to come together.
I thought they were going to combine. I've never learned any chemistry.
Any fucking chemistry.
There's also like the choir gets these like chanty lines near the end, but I don't know what they're saying. Like could be anything.
Yeah, I think I think it's lines from the song. They're probably saying like, libido a bunch or some shit.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, this one was underwhelming and kind of stupid. Let's talk about another one that is kind of like that. Scary Pockets 2017.
Hello, hello. With the lights out, it's less dangerous. Here we are now. Entertain us. I feel stupid.
Scary Pockets. So we've talked about Scary Pockets a couple times. It's headed by Jack Conte. Don't know how to say his name.
Co-founder of
Patreon,
right?
and entrepreneur, and also guy who records funk and like related covers of pop songs. I am always up and down on Scary Pockets. I've liked them in the past.
Yeah.
I was looking them up a bit yesterday. This album has a pretty solid version of Rocky Raccoon, so I invite you to check that out.
I will accept that invitation.
And this one I thought was decent.
This one, I think it had good ideas.
I mean, it was yeah. I don't know.
I think
see.
so. It starts out with this, like these immediate jam band vibes, like they're trying to get shit together. This fucking funk synth, they're like whoop, whoop,
Right,
whoop.
there's like voices talking. You hear the like whoop 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 whoop, and then like the bass doing it's like like little
Yeah,
kind
such, like-
of counts in, and then they do that like
I,
funky like tip kind of guitar thing.
it's like sanitized funk. I think funk needs to be a little greasier, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's kind of their brand
Yeah,
in
it's
a
just
lot of
like,
ways.
I don't like that.
And I wasn't a huge fan of this. Is kind of more specific, but I thought there was a little bit too much reverb on the vocals. There's a
I thought the
lot.
vocals were also just bad. I don't think he
Um,
did a good job singing on this.
could be.
So it could be the reverb, but like when the twist in this song, if one can call it that, is that the chorus is like a dance version of it. It's very much like something you would hear at a club remix. Is this high synth notes, this,
Right.
like, vibe, and then his voice cannot do. It does not thrive in that context. It dies.
Yeah, it's more focused on the like like playing the synth. And I watched the video, so you can kind of see what everything is. He's just got like some synth pads there that he's playing. He's got two different synthesizers, and there's a lot of synth work on this. This is mostly synth work.
Yeah. I think what they could have done is they could have had him do the verses, but then in a classic, if they're going to try and pull on these like dance vibes, get a female singer for that chorus who sings like high and clean and fucking just like makes
Separate
it
it a
this
little
real
better.
amped up like chorus.
Yeah, that might work out. I didn't find it like overly funky.
Yeah, I would say
I
the
was a
funk
little, when I
parts
saw
were-
like I saw it was called like the album's called like New Funk,
Mhm.
and maybe that's something, I don't know, but like I don't know, it felt more like a dance track. Some of it's got that like funk guitar where you kind of repeat, you know.
yeah,
so
well,
it's
the
more like
funk
a
parts
rhythmic
feel
guitar
pretty
kinda thing.
stilted to me.
But I was a little surprised when I was like, "Funk? Is this funk? I guess."
Yeah.
Like, ah.
Well, in those verses, like it's almost like trying to get a car started. It's like ba-ba-da-bum-bum, and it's like ba-ba-bum-ba-da-da. You're like da-da-bum-ba-da-da-da-da. Like usually, like you can fuck around with that for a bit, but I find like you have to get the groove going at some point, right? Like you can tease people for a bit, but you have to give them the groove eventually.
And you don't think the groove is there?
No, I think they have faked the funk on this nasty dunk.
Ooh, damn. Yeah, I didn't. I'll agree that it didn't like quite click. I didn't really dislike it, but it's not like I've liked other songs of theirs better, and I've liked other songs of theirs less. I think. Like I was
I don't
looking
know,
up, like I said, I was looking them up the other day, and they did a cover of "Just the Way You Are,"
Mhm.
with Theo Katzman, and I liked "Just the Way You Are." Like I like Billy Joel, and I like Theo Katzman, but for some reason, those two things together just didn't work. So sometimes, I mean, they do a lot of songs, and this one just didn't, or that one didn't click, and this one I thought was a bit better than that one, but
Well, yeah, I haven't heard this one. Of the ones we've covered on this show, this is the worst Scary Pockets cover.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I feel like there was one other one that I didn't like very much, but
Yeah,
I don't
was it-
recall.
I don't recall, but
Anyway,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just like
they can
it-
be all over the place. Also, his like face when he's playing, like Jack Conte, very like focused and intense, and he's like, you can't see it because it's a audio medium, but like check if you watch his videos, he does it when he plays. Looks very
this
tense.
is like, I mean, and they're obviously technically skilled. It's just, but there's no like emotional grit. There's no, it's all steak, no sizzle to me.
Yeah, and I think that's part of like kind of their process, as I understand. It's like very fast. It's like you got to be prepared, and then you go in, and like everyone throws around some ideas, and then you record, and like it's done. So it's very like not iterative. It's like just do it, and we'll see if it works, and we're gonna release it
Right.
regardless.
And yeah, that's my problem. Is
Yeah.
just don't release it. If it sucks, don't release it.
Or that's what I understand of it.
Of course, I can't say that because I release this podcast every week, and I'm sure motherfuckers are like, oh, it's not very good.
Like,
Fuck
hey,
you, make your own podcast.
So
Give us feedback then, you fucking pricks.
please, we would like feedback.
Now there's a bass solo in this at the 2-minute mark. Like it is chaotic, but there's no punch behind it, which is what the original has.
And
We
you
could do
gotta
this all
have
day.
punch.
I could shit on this for 100 different reasons, but we should probably just move on to Shaka Ponk unless you
Yeah,
have anything else to
Let's
say.
talk about Shaka Ponk.
All right, this is a French electro rock band formed in Paris in 2004. They mix different forms of popular music into their songs in addition to world music, although predominantly with an electronic and experimental rock sound.
Yeah, this one's not super electronic, but there's a couple synthesizers, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It opens with like guitar strumming.
Yeah.
Kind of like I said 2 guitar sounds, but I don't hear the other one anymore.
One's doing a bass note. There's a
Yeah.
doom,
So
but
it's
I
kind
don't-
of like a
I
cleaner
might
one
not
and a
be
more
bass
distorted
guitar,
one.
Yeah.
Oh, I hear it. Yeah. It's kind of
Yeah.
like chung, 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 kind of like slow chugging sort of thing. And this one does
Yeah.
get kind of metal. But it
Yeah, it
starts very
does.
slow. So this singer, who I believe is Samaha Sam,
Mm-hmm.
Samaha, Yamaha, is singing pretty raspy, but like it's pretty low at this point. Start low. Sing the first verse.
Yeah. So yeah, it's soft, and then at around the let me see what it is here. About the minute mark, just before it, like a violin comes in after the pre-chorus.
Yes, to sort of get that like violin drone or like long violin note.
Yeah, and we don't get a chorus yet.
Nope, we skip it entirely and we just go right into the next verse, which happens a couple times, just to
Yeah,
shorten the
and-
song up a bit.
We get double-tracked vocals on this, I think.
There is another singer,
Okay.
Fra. That was a name. That wasn't just a syllable.
You were trying to sound like an exclamation.
Fra.
Fra!
I know it sounds like a character from The Dark Crystal, to mention Muppets again, but whatever. So I believe they're both singing here. Because he does sing a bit more later. And
Right.
then they get into the pre-chorus. James Bond progression.
Oh.
130.
Yeah,
And it is featured prominently throughout the song.
Yeah.
So
Dun,
perfect time for us to
dun,
cover this
dun.
version. Absolutely.
Fuck yeah,
After
good
having done a
timing.
month of James Bond's music. So this is great. Yeah, so then let's see. Yeah, so they're doing this James Bond thing for the pre-chorus. And then even they get into the chorus, they stay slow. And at this
Mhm.
point, I believe that is when the other voice, yes, the
So yeah,
second
around
voice starts singing.
1:30, and they do this false end that's like kind of tricks you. You're like, oh, they're about to go hard.
Right.
They do like a big pause.
And then they do a slow chorus.
Yeah.
So still got that guitar playing in the background. 2 guitars playing in the background. Stay slow, got the violin going. And then right at the end, you get this like guitar breaking and like like doing this like pretty distorted guitar.
Yeah.
And then from here on out, we're like metal.
Yeah, so that's the 210 mark. It goes straight into metal. Big drums, some choir elements.
Yeah, so there's kind of a transition where, like you said, there's
mhm.
like this kind of choir being like, oh, 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 and like the guitar's getting all sorted out and it's distortedness. And then another verse. And it's got that like chugging, kind of like.
Yeah, where it like chugs in like two phrases. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they've got that kind of more like heightened metal vocals where they've got the like growl going on, but it's not like the beginning was raspy and this is more like a growl because they've increased in intensity. But it's still the two vocalists, I believe, going at it.
Yeah.
Same time. Yeah.
And then they really punch the next chorus. She goes full on with the vocals. Very like I'm gonna make a leap and I'm gonna say it's very power metal.
I'll accept that. It is also still very James Bond.
Yeah.
I just want that to be known. I want that important fact to be out there.
And you get these choir vocals in the back still.
Dun, 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 dun. Sure, I believe you. I don't know what part you're talking about specifically.
During it's when she goes to the this or that mosquito libido bit. They're in the back, and then at 340, at least about 340 mark,
right?
It's just choir. And
right.
Say, entertain us.
That's what they say. Okay, I couldn't make it out. I hear it now.
Dog.
They're like,
I can make it out.
Okay, I hear that. And then like Sam, that's a fun name. Ends up doing another chorus, but like double track this time. The other guy sings the end, and like, yeah, it's like very like metal, but it's got that like you said, kind of power, kind of orchestral type metal style metal.
Yeah, and so they do a little call and response between the choir and the main vocals near the end. Like this one where Patti Smith was like build up and then fall back down. This one's just like build right to the end.
Yeah. Just jams it all in there.
And I think that's a pretty because since the original version has such like consistent punch throughout, I think finding a way to make your version punch is very important. I think they did a very good metal version of that here.
Yeah, I enjoyed this version. I was a little iffy on it at first, but I think it grew on me.
Yeah.
But I agree. The original version kind of had that like up, down, up, down, up, down, and this one is more like down, 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 up, 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 up.
Yeah.
And then just up. It's also quite long version.
Yeah, it's one of the longer ones. It's what is it, 6 minutes? 6.5? Yeah.
And of course, you get near the end. The strings play the James Bond progression. I just got to point out these James Bond progressions. They're in this song, very prominent. And it's like barely even changed. Like it's the same duration of everything. And I can't notice it in any other version. So I don't think they took it from any other version. But hey, here they go.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And just before that, they have this kind of laser sound.
Yeah, that's the, I guess, electric stuff. But I didn't think the synth stuff was like super prominent in this version.
No. Like this is built to be like an operatic, like power metal version, I think.
Which the vocals really support that. I mean, I guess that's their style. I don't know much about them. Honestly, I was interested in the name, so I listened to some of their stuff. I don't remember what it was. I was not super impressed by what I heard, honestly. But I'll have to maybe check out some more of their music.
Yeah, it was, and then it does a like a not a fade out, but like a dissolve essentially. So they let notes ring out, and then it ends, sort of decays.
Right, they just got this like long decay on the notes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and that's the last song we're talking about for covers.
That's it.
So we're gonna get into our final verdict. We have 3 categories today: the worst version, the best version, and the version that smells like teen spirit.
What's the smelliest version?
The smelliest version. Yeah, which one of these versions needs Teen Spirit applied to their underarms? Alex, what's the worst version of this and why?
What is the worst version of this song? Ah, man. Which one did I like the least? Hmm. Probably Cinematic Pop. Wasn't a huge fan of the Cinematic Pop version. I don't know what to say about it other than that. That's the one that I liked the least. Like, that's it. Didn't really
it was
say
bland.
much to me.
Yeah, it was large, fucking chaotic noise signifying nothing. Whatever that quote is, I forget who says that. But it was dumb.
I don't know.
It was stupid, and I hated it. To quote myself. It's a close one for that and Scary Pockets with me, because Scary Pockets was just a fucking mess of bad ideas.
Is that your worst then?
Yeah, I think just to spread the hate around, so I'm
Oh.
gonna give it to Scary Pockets.
Hang on. This life, which has been the tomb of his virtue and of his honor, is but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing.
That's the one.
That's a William Shakespeare quote from something. It just attributes it to William Shakespeare. I don't know what character
Yeah,
it is.
you know Willie Shakes. He was always around saying that shit about dudes.
Ah, Bill. What a guy. That's
Fucking
Bill.
Yeah, so that's how I felt about Cinematic Pop. Also kind of how I feel about Scary Pockets this week. Those are the worst versions. Best version, Alex. Why?
Best version. Why? I think there were some strong versions, but for me, my favorite was Tori Amos. I was just happy to hear, I think, after such a long time, a like good slow piano cover. And we haven't had one in a
refreshing.
while, so that was a bit refreshing, and it was very strong. And I liked, like we've talked about the textures. I think that is done very well by her, and I thought it was a pretty good version.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a strong contender for me. I think for me it comes down to like that one, Patti Smith, and like maybe Shaka Ponk. But I think for me, just I'm always impressed with Patti Smith's work, and this is one that I think is so much in her like wheelhouse, like thematically, and I think her approach to it is unique. It's not what I expected her to do instrumentally, and it's a bold move to put your own poetry in and have it sort of click.
Right.
I mean, you're extending a 5-minute song to 6.5 minutes, and I'm still there for it, which is very rare for me, particularly on this show.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I gotta give it to Patti Smith again. I think she's the fucking just queen of covers.
It
man.
was
She
good
knocks this
shit.
out.
It was good shit.
Yeah, Tori Amos is fucking strong too. Alex, which one of these smells like Teen Spirit?
Sometimes we say French people smell bad. I don't know why, but Shaka Punk's French, so we can apply deodorant to them, I guess.
Fuck yeah! I was gonna say in terms of like what Kurt Cobain thought Teen Spirit as well is they started out all quiet, kind of bottled up, and then that just fucking that energy just cuts loose for
Yeah.
4 minutes.
So
It's
the
long,
Muppets,
keeps growing. Yeah, it's the Muppets, baby.
the Muppet Babies,
That's Muppet Babies. Muppet
Ugh.
Baby Shop Quartet.
wild card. Didn't expect that.
That's a wild. No, Shaka Ponk. That is our picks this week. If you have similar opinions, different opinions, or you want to talk about a cover we didn't mention, of which there are many, hit us up on Twitter, #CoverMePod, @JakeTheCressy, @SomeAlexWiseGuy. Be sure to rate and review us. We're on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, or Apple Podcasts, whatever the fuck it is, Google Podcasts. Favorite podcasting app, we're there. Tell your friends about us. That's been our main segment. I got a bonus segment today, and it's called, Hey Alex, you been checking out any of these live streams that artists have been doing thanks to the quarantine?
Sorry, say that again because you cut out.
Hey Alex.
That's what I thought you said.
Yeah. No, have you been checking out any of these live streams artists have been doing? Thanks to like the quarantine, a lot of concerts and stuff have been canceled.
No, I haven't seen anything.
Oh, Frank Turner did one. You can
oh,
probably
damn.
see the video on his Facebook page.
Probably. No, I haven't been following these at all. I've been mostly, I'm still working from home. So I've been kind of focused on that, I guess. I don't
That's
know.
fair. The
Playing
Homeless
board
Gospel Choir
games.
is doing one like as we speak
That's
on
pretty
Instagram.
exciting. I gotta check some of these out. Damn.
Yeah, stay posted. That's why you got to stay up on Twitter, dude. It's just follow your favorite artists, and then they'll tell you when they're
You can
doing
see
shit.
cool stuff. Yeah, I guess so.
But
Anyway, so
that's-
yeah, the answer to your question, no.
no. Well,
no,
that's a good
thank
bonus
you.
segment. 'cause
Bonus
we're
segment.
probably
Have you been watching some?
yeah. I watched the
All the
Frank
ones
Turner
you mentioned?
one.
That's pretty cool.
That's yeah.
Does it just
We're already
like
at the
they're
2-hour
performing
mark.
for?
Yeah, they do like in-house concerts basically, but with a camera and they perform. So it was Frank Turner and two other. It was Frank Turner's wife who opened, and then another musician was in their house with them, Micah
Shinoda?
Yeah, no, Mike Shinoda. Yeah, Micah Shinoda. Micah Schnabel. And then Frank Turner, and they did that. And just yesterday, he posted his the live video of his 2000th show in 2016 on YouTube for the day, but it's off now. Lots of artists like Lizzo, I think Bonnie Iver, and like John Legend have been doing live streams. Yeah, so it's just been interesting to see this sort of how the entertainment industry and media around it have taken to using this time to sort of explore alternative means of live performance.
Yeah, I'll have to check some of those out because I have just been not doing anything.
Yeah, that's fair. If y'all have seen some cool live streams or you know about some cool ones coming up, hit us up. Hashtag CoverMePod, hashtag live streaming, baby. And yeah, talk to us. You got time. It's quarantines, baby.
Have the quarantine of your life.
That's been our show. That's been the show. As we always say on Cover Me. Here we are now. Cover me.